Hey guys, welcome back. I'm really excited because for the very first time ever, I have a guest with me today. And he looks like he's probably just ahead. Why don't you stand a little over here? There, see, he's got a body too. This is my nephew, and he is, how old are you?
13.
You're 13 years old. Have you built a computer before?
I have not.
Okay, we're not going to use an electric screwdriver, and the reason for that is you've never built a computer before. And anybody who's never built a computer before should be turning all the screws by hand. That's your tool. How do you think you get the side panels off?
With the screws, the big screws.
These are the instructions for the case. You know what we do with these?
Throw them to the side.
Show me. What do you do with those? That's it. You know, while you're doing that, I want to talk to you. In some families, in some cultures, when a child reaches a certain age to become an adult, and they do certain things, like in some cases, like when girls turn 16, in some cultures they have the quinceañera. In the Jewish community, when a boy turns 13, they have a bar mitzvah. It's the going from a boy to a man. Or for a Jewish girl, if you have bat mitzvah. But in our family, we build a computer. This is the transition from a boy to a man when you can build your own PC. All right, you've got all 4 screws removed?
Yeah.
So you see the thing you can grab on back there? Pull it towards you, it comes back about an inch. Pull it back.
Nope.
Gotta use some muscles. There you go. Gently take that and set it off to the side, down here on the floor, and turn it around so that the part that can get scratched is not the part that's seamed. Right? So turn this around.
Yeah. Okay.
And that way, if anybody should scratch it, it'll scratch on the inside, not on the outside. And then do the same thing with the remaining side panel. You'll see the panels are a little different. That panel that you just took off has no holes in it. And this panel, we can show people, does have holes. That panel is going to only fit on this side. And you're not going to grab it from here. You can put a hand up here if you want. There you go.
I was afraid I'm going to break it.
Oh, you're not going to break it.
It's all going to fall apart.
That's all metal. You aren't that tough. All right? Now, I don't want you to be too rough with the parts either, so come back over here. There. All right, so as we spin this around, I've shown this case a number of times in a number of different videos. I really like this case. Do you know what case this is?
Where's the box?
All right, it's Corsair 200R.
Okay.
Yes or no will suffice. And I use this case a lot because, you know, it's not a whole lot to look at. It's not a bad looking case, but it's got a really good price tag. And it's got lots of room for hard drives and solid state drives and you know, DVD drives or other 5 1/4 inch drives. It's got a fan, which I never hook up in the front unless it's a gaming rig. And then we've got all the front port umbilicals here that are tied up with this wire tie. In fact, step back around and I had you come back to you. These wire ties have metal in them. Step over here.
All right.
These wire ties have metal in them. And over time, if you leave the wire ties on, they generally get brittle and break off. And then you have this piece of metal that's moving around in your computer. And even if you just move your computer to clean, not that that would ever happen, but if that should ever happen in the future, that metal could get lodged you know, between the motherboard and the case. It could short something out. It's a nightmare. So I want you to take this twist tie off, get rid of it. Now, I'm going to keep talking while you're working because the viewers are probably just staring at your back right now. And I'm trying to see if you can just step a little bit this way. There you go. And then take all these cables, just throw that on the floor, get rid of it. You don't want it. Doesn't matter. There you go. Now, take all these cables, pull them through. Now, be gentle with these. We don't want to scrape the plastic off or expose them. So just pull them through.
Wow. Really gentle.
Not really gentle, just like you say. Just there you go. So that's our front port umbilicals. Those cables are for the power switch, reset switch, hard drive LED, power LED, headphone, microphone jack, and USB. That's what all that is. A lot of people are intimidated by that cabling, but we're not going to get to that for a little while. So if you feel any anxiety about these cables, we've got other things to worry about. And we're just going to pull all that out and get it out of the way so that the inside is nice and open. Now, some people ask, where are all the screws that are going to hold all the parts in place? Well, every case comes with a little box or a bag of hardware designed specifically for that case. Do you see it here in this case? Do you see the box?
Right here.
Right. Do you know how that box comes out? You're not just going to pull on it. There's a release lever. Do you see it?
I think so.
Show me.
Right here?
Yep. Going to pull it away.
Away.
Towards me.
Oh.
It's like a little peg that's in the hole in the side of the box, right? So you're going to pull on this. So that the little peg comes out of the hole. And then at the same time, use your other hand and reach in behind the box. See if you can you grab the back? Stick your hand in. No. Right where you were doing. Stick your hand in, just like that, and pull it towards you. You're fine. Just a little more muscle.
I'm taking the whole case with me.
You got it. All right. The step just off. You can come back a little bit. Just turn to the side. All right. Open this box up and dump it out onto the counter. Sometimes getting the parts out of the box is harder than actually building the computer. Box empty?
Yeah.
Where's it go?
That way.
All right. So we've got a number of different things here. These are our nylon zip ties. Anywhere there was a wire tie, we will replace when we're done and we know the computer works. This is the last thing you do. So we won't need that for a little while. We have a number of different bags of screws here. We don't need any of those right now. That's all going to get shoved aside. The first step, as I mentioned, is prepping the case. And the first step in prepping the case would be installing the power supply, the DVD drive. This customer doesn't want a DVD drive. So that's less prep to the case, right? It's one less thing we have to do. Here's our power supply. This is an EVGA 430 watt power supply. It's ample power for this system. Take it out of the box and install it. Now, installing the power supply is incredibly simple. Basically,
You already cut.
the tape is, I cut the tape before we started filming.
Oh, okay.
But there's a little flap,
Yeah.
right? You see this flap? And this flap goes towards you. You see right here where my finger is?
Yeah.
Just pull that out. And then the whole top will open now. Okay, now lay the box this way because you see how that top's opening? Okay, got the instruction manual for the power supply. Where's that go?
That way.
Good. There's a little flap right here. Lift that up. You see, is there anything taped to it?
There are a couple screws.
We're going to use those screws. More than a couple, there are 4. You know why there are 4? Because there's 4 corners. So how many screws go in each corner?
1.
Right. How many are we going to use?
4.
Good. Set that down. What else is in the box? What else do we have in there?
Power cable.
Good. Set that aside. No, put it there. Put it over. Get out of my way.
Oh, okay.
What else is in the box?
Other cables.
Pull it out.
And the power supply.
Yep. Now you see there's no room on the counter. Why? Because the box is in the way. What do we do with the box? Still in the way. Now it's out of the way.
Okay.
All right.
What?
Why'd you stop? Was that ready to be installed?
Yeah.
Is that how you install yours? Where's that go? It's taking up room. There's a little counter. Right? Thank you. There's a little piece of plastic that covers up the logo, and a lot of power supply manufacturers do this. It doesn't actually cause any harm to leave it on, but it's a good habit to remove it because there's other pieces of hardware like a video card and such, which we're not using on this build, where that will sit on a heat sink and it could get hot and start smelling like melting plastic. So, you have any fingernails?
I don't.
Oh, well, let me get it started for you. Usually there's a little push, but you see that? Just go ahead and pull that off for me. Just get rid of it. All right. Does this fan blow air out or does it suck air in?
Suck air in.
That's right. So the air is going to come in here, and it's going to go out there. So it actually doesn't even go into the computer at all, the air. It's just for cooling the power supply. The power supply can be installed with the fan facing up or the fan facing down. But you'll see this case is actually intentionally designed with a filter on the bottom, right? See this filter? And what ends up happening is if you put a computer on carpet, you know, if I just set this on the counter, there's very little breathing room here on this case.
Yeah.
So if you put this on carpet, you basically have a really expensive vacuum cleaner. All right, so I want you to take the power supply and I want you to install it into the case with this fan facing down. And you'll see there's a metal tab right here.
Yeah.
And it's got to fit underneath this tab. And usually what I do is I just put the power supply in and get it lined up under the tab. And then I push it back until it sits flush against the back.
All right.
You got that?
So you put it in flush with the tab.
So let's see if we can, the only thing I'm thinking is that nobody can see what you're doing. I'm trying to find an angle here. You don't have to be gentle with it. It's all solid state stuff. And it does require, so did you get it under the tab first?
Yeah.
Okay.
Under the tab.
All right. Now, we turn this around so people can see you're not flush with the vacuum. And it doesn't look like, you've got to be all the way to the back of the case first. And so when you set it underneath this tab, you've got to push that power supply until it hits the back. Has it hit the back?
No.
So do that first. Under the tab.
Under the tab.
And completely flush against this back plate.
I don't want to break nothing.
You're not going to break it. This is all metal. There's nothing fragile here. You're going to have to use a little bit of, you're not using over force, but you need to use, install it with purpose. You got it. Now, all the way to the back. Perfect. That was perfect. Now, I'm going to turn this around and you'll see there's a switch on this power supply that's currently in the on position. We want that in the off position for later. So we'll just take care of it now while we're looking at it. The bag of screws that came with the power supply, do you have that?
I believe it's right here.
Go ahead and take the screws out. So, what was your first computer? Do you remember?
I don't.
What's the first video game you ever played? Don't remember?
Roblox.
Do you remember using computers as far back as you can remember?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk where you do this. You can do both, right? So go ahead and start putting those screws in. One screw is going to go in each corner, but you'll see there are numerous places where the screw can go. So you need to look through the holes. You see these holes here don't have threads, right?
Yeah.
So the screws are going to go, that screw is going to go either here or here. There's nothing for you to see on the other side. You've got to be looking at it from here. There's only one place. The reason why there's two holes for every screw is that if you flip this power supply upside down with the fan facing up, then the screws go in the different holes, right?
Right.
And don't tighten them down. You want to get all the screws started, but you don't want to tighten them because you still may need to shift the power supply a little bit to get the other screws, the holes for the screws to line up. So, what video games are you playing right now? This is December 2016. What are all the kids playing?
Battlefield 1.
Okay. What else? I know it's more than one.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered.
Still Call of Duty. Still popular. Okay. What else?
Let's see.
What's your favorite all-time game?
Ark Survival Evolved.
Say it slower.
Ark Survival
I
Evolved.
didn't even heard of that.
It's a new game
Is that for PC or for Xbox?
for all consoles, including PC.
And
Wrongly.
if you're no, it's all you had it the right way, but I don't think you're in the right. Are you in the right hole? You need to just check that the hole that you're going into has threads.
It does.
Okay. Then it's just a matter of lining it up. And again, that's why we don't tighten the screws down so that you can move that power supply.
Okay.
So your favorite game of all time is Ark?
Survival Evolved.
Ark Survival Evolved.
Yeah.
What's that? Space?
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. It's the exact opposite of space.
Yeah.
What do you do in the game?
It's like a crafting game like Minecraft, but
Oh, all right. One more screw left. So far, so good.
yeah,
Not rocket science so far, right? You're not breaking a sweat.
not so much.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Screws are always going to, you know the direction a clock turns?
Yeah.
Called clockwise?
Mhm.
Whenever you tighten a screw, it goes the direction of the clock.
Okay.
We always say righties, tighties, lefties, loosies. So when you turn the screwdriver to the right, you're tightening it. When you turn the screwdriver to the left, you're loosening it.
So they're all in.
All right, so go ahead and tighten them down.
All right.
There's no particular order. You don't have to tighten one corner before another one. Just torque them down. Now, because this customer has no DVD drive, we don't have to install the DVD drive, so that's one less step in prepping the case. What we do have to install is the I/O shield, which goes back here. And that is included with whatever motherboard the customer's picked. Every I/O shield is different depending on the ports and the size of the motherboard. We're going to use the Gigabyte H110N, which is a mini ITX. It's really tiny, but that doesn't mean it's weak. This is actually quite a powerful motherboard, and it even has a slot for a gaming card. So if this customer decided later on that they wanted to game with this or do some kind of video editing, they could upgrade the CPU to an i7. They could, for video editing. An i5 is great for gaming currently. They could put a Radeon or a GeForce video card in this of any budget, whether it's a $120 Radeon or a $650 GTX 1080. This motherboard will handle it. They might have to upgrade the power supply, but that's 4 screws. That's easy. In the motherboard box, obviously there's the motherboard, which we're not quite ready for yet, very soon. And underneath here is the I/O shield. So go ahead and take that out of plastic for me. Now when you do that, I'm going to take this motherboard out of the static bag. So to prevent any anti-static discharge, I always touch something metal. It doesn't have to be plugged in. In fact, it shouldn't be plugged in. Some people think it should be. Don't listen to those people. Just so you're on the same electrical level as your environment. I hold it as much by the edges as possible. I've had some people go, "Oh, I accidentally touched it. Did I ruin it?" If you accidentally touch it, then you actually touched it. What's done is done. It's probably going to be fine. But I don't have a crystal ball. I have no way to know if you ruined it. More than likely, it's going to be no damage will be done. We just want to avoid the opportunity for damage by handling it by the edges as much as possible. That's all. I'm going to set that off to the side. We're going to get to that in a minute. That's in our way. Let's get rid of that. How do you think that goes in?
With the keyboard port on the bottom, right?
Other way around.
Really?
Keyboard port will always go towards the top. Some cases are built backwards because everybody's got to do something different. So depending on what case you have, it's possible. The good news is that if you put that in backwards, you just pop it out and turn it around. It's no big deal. So how do you think that goes in?
And right here, right?
Yeah, how's it going to go now?
Plug it in.
Exactly. You go in from the inside, just like you're doing, and it's a friction fit. So it's going to be a little tight, but it's supposed to be so it doesn't fall out. Just work on getting all 4 corners in. You should hear it sort of click when it goes in. Probably want to start with the bottom corners and let gravity help you. So get those bottom corners in first. You need to give it some, push it. You want to push these corners in.
Well, I don't know if it's lined up or not.
Yeah, you gotta make sure it's lined up first. Start with the bottom. And again, we're just dealing with metal here, right? So there's nothing, there's no static discharge to worry about with the case or the I/O shield. And you know if you've got it in because it won't pop out like that. And because you've never done this before, it's okay if you take your time and you go slow and you really analyze and see how it's all supposed to fit together. After you've done it as many times as I do, I just slap them in there now. I'm so used to it. What I don't want you to do is I don't want you to get frustrated and to give up and go, I don't know how this goes in. Now, make sure the other corner's in. Is it in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, keep your finger on that corner so it doesn't pop out. Keep this finger on there.
I'm wearing it.
Right here.
All right.
Just hold it in. Now use your other hand and push the other corner in. There you go. One more. Oh, I'll hold it. I will say the more money you spend on your case and your motherboard, the easier this is. That when people are shopping for the cheapest prices, this part can be frustrating and it can cut your hands on cheaper cases where the edges are real sharp.
The sides are in, but the corners are.
Let's take a look at it. Let's see what you got. So do you see? Let me show you something. I can run my finger right here.
Mm-hmm.
Put your finger here and run it just like I'm doing. Does that feel smooth?
Mm-hmm.
But how does the bottom feel? The bottom down here. This is sticking out. So that's not in. So you need to grab it up here and push it in. You should hear it click. Now check it again. That corner's not in, is it? Feel it. There we go.
Okay.
Now I can feel all four corners are sticking out. Good job. Now we can set the case aside. Just put it over here. Come around here with me. Let's move this stuff out of the way. That's step one. We have prepped the case. The next step is to prep the motherboard. So prepping the motherboard is going to be installing the CPU. What are you pointing at?
Pointing at this. I'm touching this.
Oh, you're discharging.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't recommend you use one finger. I put your whole hand on it and make sure you get a good static discharge. Good. Good for you. But we don't want this. We have our RAM. In this case, what do we have? It's 16 gigs. So there's 2 sticks of RAM here, 8 gigs apiece, total of 16. And we've got a Samsung Evo 850 M.2 drive. Do you know what an M.2 drive is?
I don't.
Well, you know what a hard drive is?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the hard drive, only it's solid state, meaning there's no moving parts like a traditional hard drive. And unlike a traditional solid state drive, we don't have to plug any power or data cables to it. On the back of this motherboard, hidden back here, is a little connector. You see it right here? And that's where this is going to go, but we're not going to do that yet. This is an expensive part and very sensitive to electrostatic discharge. In fact, all the things we're going to be doing right now, to be extra cautious, we should be wearing an anti-static strap. Do you know what an anti-static strap is?
Yeah.
You ever worn one?
Nope.
Today's your lucky day. Now, there's a lot of people on the internet that say these aren't necessary, and I tend to agree with them, but this isn't my system. This is going to a customer, and you've never built a computer before, so you wouldn't even know if you had an electrostatic discharge if it occurred. So for less than $5, you can buy one of these. I've had this one for years. And you just attach it anywhere metal on the case. This case is entirely painted. Preferably, we'd attach it to somewhere that isn't painted to have a better direct contact, but that's okay. We're just going to attach it right here, and we don't want to scratch the case, so let's find somewhere. Let's say that looks pretty good. And then this part is going to go on your wrist, so let's put it on, why don't we put it on your left since it's going to go on your left. And it doesn't have to be on tight. You see on the other side of this is all metal. You want this to make contact with your skin. You don't want this like a wristwatch bouncing around. You want it to be making contact. And the way they design these is so that if you were working in a factory, let's say, and you wanted to take your break, you could just take this off right? And you could just wear that all day. And then when you're working, you just plug this back on. Like it's just like a button on a shirt. Okay, so now it's time for us to prep the motherboard. So prepping the motherboard means we're going to install the CPU and we're going to install the RAM. There's really no right or wrong order to if you want to install the RAM first. Generally, I like to install the CPU first. There you go. All right, so we'll get rid of that. Put that over here. This is a cardboard flap. It's going to lift up. I want you to grab that edge and lift it up in a way. And it's going to expose the thermal compound that's already applied on the bottom of this heatsink. We want to not touch that. Intel used to put a plastic cover over this. I don't like how they're doing this because it's too easy now. If you touch that with your fingers, the oils on your skin can contaminate that. Now, again, if you should accidentally touch it, it's okay, but try to avoid touching it.
All right.
So I want you to grab this by the edges. I want you to take it out, and I want you to set it down on the counter and avoid touching that middle. You can use your other hand to hold the box. There you go, just set it down. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. Just set it over here. We need this, we're not done with this box.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because this, if we turn it around so the camera can see, this is your CPU right here.
Oh, okay.
So to get that out, see how this cardboard is folded on the inside? You're gonna unfold that and take this out. You're doing good.
Oh.
Right? And now what's happened, let's turn the camera and show what's happened. So what's happened is the CPU's kind of flopped out of its plastic container. And this has to do with the way Intel's been packaging this new packaging. I really don't like it. There's nothing fragile about the CPU, but we want to avoid, again, we want to avoid the oils that are on our skin from touching the top or the bottom of the CPU. You see how I'm holding it by the edges? Am I even on the camera? There's a little groove on each side. There's one right here and there's one right here, right? And this is the socket where the CPU is going to sit. And we can rotate this. Let's rotate it this way. I'm gonna hold on to the CPU right here. What I want you to do is I want you to push this lever down and towards, right here, where my finger is. Push it down and away, because we want to unlatch. Move your finger for a second. We want to get the, you see how this piece of metal is this is underneath this piece of metal.
Yeah.
So you have to push it down and away so that it can swing up. Go ahead, you're going to need to hold the motherboard with one hand. So put your hand like this here. Well, that's fine. You're good. That's fine. It does take a little bit of muscle. Down and away.
Or you just don't want to
There you go.
scratch
Now
the
lift
motherboard.
it up. Using the other hand, go ahead and help that lid. No, not the plastic. Just grab the whole thing and there you go. So the camera can see, this is what it looks like. Now this socket is very delicate. I almost said silicate, socket and delicate. You see what I did there? There are 1,151 little pins, and there are 1,151 little dots. We call those landings on the bottom of the CPU. The CPU can only go in one way. Now, I want you to line that CPU up with the corners. You see how the edges, the little notches, are towards you right now. All the writing faces this direction towards the camera.
Yeah.
And those notches are naturally going to fit into these two notches right here and right here. Now, it looks like on the camera, it looks like I'm touching that. I'm not touching it. Go ahead and just gently place the CPU so that it just rests in that socket.
No idea how to do this.
No, you've never done it before. But see, a lot of people won't do things because they're afraid. You don't have to be nothing to be afraid. You can just let it go at this point. Just let it go. You're not letting it go. That's it. That's it.
That's it?
That's it. Now, I want you to hold on to this with one hand. Use your other hand and lightly put the lid back down. Okay, you see how the lid stops right there? Okay, let go. Oh. I'm explaining it bad. Put your hand on here and let it go as far as it wants to. Oh, it's going to go all the way down.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. This little screw right here is actually there to where there's a groove, I can talk. Pull this handle back.
Okay.
right? You see, it looks like I call it like a forklift. It looks like a forklift. There's a big gap. That gap is going to go underneath that screw.
All right.
Okay? So one more time. Let's do it again. Okay? Now hold the motherboard with one hand, so we don't want it to move. Push that lever down. It's going to require some force. I want you to push it down and stick it back underneath that metal tab. This plastic lid's going to pop off all by itself. Don't let it spook you. Keep going. Got to use muscle on this. Keep going. I know it's creaking. It's scary. Keep going. Don't worry about that. I just want you to keep pushing it down. Push it away so you can get it underneath that catch. That's it. Let it go. Now, grab that cover. Careful not to touch the CPU. And let's straighten that out because it drives my OCD crazy. This, we want to keep this little lid right here because this is required if the motherboard is ever bad and you need to send it back to the manufacturer for warranty. Because those pins are so delicate, you need to cover those pins back up anytime you take the CPU out. Or the manufacturer is going to say, hey, for all we know, this was damaged because, you know, you didn't cover this up. Ideally, you're never ever going to need this, but what I recommend people do is put this in the box in the motherboard box. And in fact, take all the extra screws that we're not going to use. When we're done, we'll take all the cables we're not going to use. We're going to put that all in the motherboard box, all the manuals. Everything will be in one place, and hopefully you're never going to need that stuff again. But if you do, you'll be able to find it, right?
Right.
So that's going to go back in the motherboard box. Now, we can attach our heatsink, which I have right here. So people ask me a lot about liquid cooling. The only time you ever need to use liquid cooling is if you're going to overclock the CPU. If you're not overclocking, or you don't know what overclocking means, which means you're not going to be overclocking, then the cooler that comes with the CPU is fine. If this Intel CPU ends with the letter K, all the latest generation do not come with cooling fans, in which case you're going to have to buy something extra. The K version means you can overclock it, but it also means you don't have to overclock it. The K version of every Intel CPU is faster by about 10% or so than a non-K, even if everything else is the same. So some people think if you buy a K CPU and you don't overclock it, you wasted your money. Don't listen to those people. Some people just want the fastest CPU without risking the instability that overclocking can cause. Now, it doesn't matter which way we put this on. It can go on any way. So what I'm looking for is this Intel logo. I want to be able to read it when the motherboard's installed. All right. Now the motherboard's going to go in facing the camera, so I want it to go in this direction. The problem is, you see where the wire comes out?
Yeah.
That means we'd have to wrap the wire all the way around to get it to plug in right here on this white connector. That's the CPU fan header. So first thing we want to do is we want to untangle this cable. Intel wraps it up like this to prevent it from interfering with the fan and breaking the blades off in shipping. So the audience at home can see this, we just want to unclip that from, there's two clips that hold that in, right? And now it's much easier to see that that cable is coming out this way. And if we wrap it around, there's a chance through movement of the computer that it could get caught up in the fan blades and then the fan won't spin. So we want, if it was a perfect world, Intel would just give me the sticker and let me put the sticker on.
Right.
Because now the sticker is going to be upside down. But more importantly, this cable is going to come out from this side. In fact, I want to turn this around so the folks can see what we're doing here. We want the cable to come out here because it's going to plug in right down there. And then when we plug that in, we have much cleaner cable management. It's going to be a nice, clean install. If we did it the other way, we'd have to wrap the cable around, and it doesn't look as good, and it can get caught up in the fan.
All right.
All right, so since that's the direction we want it on, and I've already done that for you, we have these little towers. And there's little mounting holes on the board. Do you see the little holes?
Yeah.
So we're going to line that up with the holes, and it just kind of gently sits down, all four of them. I haven't done anything other than rest it into position. If you look closely on top, you'll see there's a little arrow. Do you see the little arrow on top of each of these towers?
Yeah.
Okay, that arrow, if this tower is turned, see how I can turn that? That means you want to take the heatsink off. So we want it the opposite direction of the arrow, which is how it came out of the box. This we want to install in a specific order.
All right.
You're going to push down on one corner and you're going to hear it click. Then you do the opposite corner. Got to use muscle.
That's not in?
I didn't sound like it was in. There, that sounded like it was in. Did you hear the difference?
Yeah.
One was kind of a flat thud and the other was a click.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it's opposite corners, which means you can start on either side. Use force. Use the force. One more. Okay, I'm gonna double check your work. Oh, see, that one still went in. You're not using enough force on that. And that one wasn't all the way in either. This is important.
Okay.
It's okay if you don't have it all the way in. You just double check your work, go around. If you don't have the strength, if for any reason, have somebody else just push down on it. And that's part of the reason I like working on the box, is the box will give way. If we work directly on the countertop, we could scratch this countertop up. That would not be good. Now, this little connector right here, I'm going to do this because I know you can do it, but I want to show the audience. There's a white connector. You see how this is white and this is white?
Yeah.
Those two go together. Not every motherboard is like that, though, so it's nice that Gigabyte is on the same page with Intel on this. And it's got a little groove in it, so it can only go on one side. And it just pushes straight down like that. And while we've got the motherboard out like this, we can take this cable and we can kind of make it nice and neat. Take one of these nylon zip ties. And it's a lot easier to do that now while the motherboard's outside of the case.
All right.
I got my wire cutters here, and I'm just going to cut that little pigtail off. Now we can install the RAM. So these two sockets right here, these are our RAM sockets. And you'll see motherboard manufacturers used to have both sides where these little retention levers open. It used to be over here too. What happened was, when you'd open these retention levers, it would hit your video card. So they said, okay, this side, on many motherboards now, this side doesn't move. Only this side does. And that's why.
All right.
Some motherboards still have these on both sides. You cannot install the RAM with those in a closed position. You will break the RAM or you will break the socket. So go ahead and open those up. Since you've never done it before, I want you to feel what that feels like. Not too difficult, right?
Not difficult.
I'm going to turn this on an angle because I want you to see what you're doing, but I want these folks to see what you're doing too.
All right.
So this is our RAM. And inside, let me take this out. This plastic is not everyday ordinary plastic. This is actually an anti-static plastic because RAM is also very sensitive to static discharge. You can touch this RAM anywhere except where the gold, they call these gold fingers. So you can hold the RAM this way or by the edges, doesn't matter. And in fact, as long as you're holding it by the edges, static discharge isn't possible. Whether you're wearing an anti-static strap won't matter if you handle the parts correctly. So let's open this up. Okay, so there's the RAM all ready for you. You'll see the RAM has a little groove cut out. You see the groove?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll see there's a little groove in here. Do you know why that's there?
For alignment. So
It's to
put it in.
ensure that you don't put it in
Yeah. The wrong way.
the other way,
Yeah.
right? Because it's not exactly in the middle. That groove is off to one side. And in fact, this is DDR4 memory. DDR3 memory has the groove in a different place. So if you bought the wrong memory, it won't line up. DDR2, same way. At some point, we'll have DDR5, I imagine, and DDR6. And it will have the groove in a different place. And this ensures that you bought the right part. Some people say, for example, the motherboard says the maximum memory speed it can read is 2133. When you buy memory, there's different speeds of memory, and that's primarily for people who are going to overclock. This memory may be 2400 speed, for example.
All right.
And that's okay. The motherboard will only read it at 2133. It'd be like, say you have a car that can do 100 miles an hour. the freeway may only allow 75 miles an hour,
Yeah.
but the car still works. Right? You could have a 1,000-watt power supply, but your system may only be drawing 300 watts. That's all it's going to do. All right. So go ahead and grab one of those memory modules. Doesn't matter which one.
Is there a certain way?
Well, you can use both hands if you want to, kind of push the plastic if you need to help get it out. Just avoid touching the gold part. There you go. Now, gently place it. Let's start with the inside socket because that one's going to be harder to do. If there's imagine there was a memory module right here. It'd be kind of hard to squeeze in that spot.
Yeah.
So let's start on the inside first. Gently just pick a direction, and there's a little track. It's going to slide in the track and see if that groove lines up with the tab. Does it line up?
Yeah. Should.
Let me take a look. Yep. You'll see if I turn this around the other way, it doesn't line up.
Yeah.
Right? There's also something else on this memory. Do you see what I see? I see plastic on this, which could probably be left alone, but it's bugging me. Is there any on the other side? No. All right, so I'm going to set this. How did you have it? You had it like this, right? Now, I'm going to do this first one. I want you to watch how I do it. I'm going to do it for the audience. I'm going to use my thumbs. Can the camera see my thumb? Here's my thumb. Each side, push down one side, then the other side. You will hear this side with the lever. You'll hear it click.
All right.
Okay, can you do the other one for me?
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps if you just look at the sticker. Now that we've got one in, you know that the same sticker is going to face. Oh wait, I want to take that little plastic off. It's funny to me that these manufacturers only put plastic over their name. I mean, God forbid their brand got scratched. Everything else can scratch, but not the name.
Okay, then 2 thumbs, right?
Yep, push down hard. Now push down hard on that one. You did it.
Yay.
All right. That is as far as we're going to take the motherboard prep for now. We're going to go ahead in the next step and install this motherboard into the case. And then after it's installed, then I'll show you how we can install the M.2 drive.
All right.
Since we have the heatsink installed, this is the best way to pick this motherboard up.
Okay.
Right by the heatsink. So the edges, normally the edges are a lot easier when handling components, except on the mini ITX because everything's so jammed in there. It's hard to not touch the components by mistake. And the world isn't going to end if you touch them. You just want to avoid touching them to avoid any potential problems, right? So as long as I'm holding it by the heatsink, there's no potential problem I'm going to have. So because you're connected with the grounding strap, you've got your grounding strap on, you don't need to touch this because you're always touching it as long as that's on.
All right.
But you'll see me touch it from time to time, and that's why I'm doing it, because I'm not wearing one. So this is always a tricky part to film, but since you're going to do it and not me, I think I'll hold the camera and see if I can get some better angles for the viewers while you install it.
All right.
Okay, so the first thing is I want you to take the case, and I want you to lay it on its back. So I want this piece here, the IO shield, facing down. So just take it and turn it like that. Perfect. And then the other thing you want to watch is you see all the cables we've got hanging out off the side here?
Yeah.
Out the back? Just let them hang out there. If you get them bunched up underneath, it'll kind of sit cattywampus. It's kind of difficult. Okay, it's all you.
All right.
Yeah, line the ports up with the holes. Is it lined up?
Yeah.
Now grab the back of the board and push it forward until the little post comes through that hole.
There we go.
Got it?
Yeah.
Now, before we screw it down, come down here and look at these ports, because you want to make sure you can see through all of these, and that sometimes there's little metal tabs and they fold down, and they're not supposed to, and they'll block the port. And if you don't realize that until after you've built your computer, you're going to have to take it all apart again. So this is the time to just check. All right, can you see clearly? Is anything blocking any of those ports?
Nope.
Okay, and then the other thing is sometimes these audio, right, your speakers always go in the green. The red is a microphone. That's all standard for all motherboards. The blue is a line in. But sometimes these little ports, they don't line up with the holes correctly. So do they look like they're lined up with the holes correctly? They're protruding through the holes?
Yeah. Right.
Yep. So you did it right. Now we can secure the board. Now because this is a micro, no, it's not a micro, it's a mini ITX board, it only has 4 mounting points. And one of them, with the Corsair case here, the standoff has the post on it.
Yeah.
We're obviously not going to put a screw there. So we only need 3 screws then to go in each corner, because there's only 3 corners remaining. The corner directly across. You see the hole over here? It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of hidden behind the, there it is, by the power connector for the CPU. And then right in the other corner, right here. So we're going to need 3 screws.
All right.
And what I wanted to tell you about the standoffs earlier that I forgot is these standoffs that are already pre-installed are in the ATX standard configuration, but not all motherboards follow ATX standard configuration. And what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to install your motherboard where there could be a standoff behind it where there's no hole, because it'll short out your motherboard and your computer's not going to work, and you could fry your parts. And if you fry your parts, that's not a warranty issue because you did it. So it's something really, really simple to check, and that is you want to make sure that all the standoffs line up with all the holes on the board. Now, because the Corsair has pre-installed standoffs, these don't come out. They're permanently in there.
Okay.
But you see there's holes here?
Yeah.
That's for adding extra standoffs for different manufacturers of motherboards that may or may not utilize those. And that's why the bag contained extras. And there's more than just these 2. There's another one over here. And these other standoffs that exist, some of these come out and some of these don't. The ones that don't come out, it's because there are no motherboards where that would be required for these to come out. Let's revisit the bags of screws that came with the case. The motherboard doesn't come with the screws because the motherboard has no way of knowing what kind of case you have. And the case has no way of knowing what kind of motherboard you have. So the case provides the standoffs and the screws that are compatible with the standoffs.
All right.
Not all standoffs use the same kind of screws. Depends on the case manufacturer. So this bag of screws here, this is for adding more fans. We are not going to add more fans. We are not going to use this bag of screws whatsoever. That'll go in the motherboard box when we're done. This bag of screws here is for adding more fans.
All right.
It goes with the rest of those. This bag here is the extra standoffs. We have more standoffs than we know what to do with this tiny motherboard. We don't need this, but we'll put it away because we might need it in the future. Now these 2 bags that remain, they look very, very similar. But if you look closely at them, I want you to go ahead and take that bag and take that bag. Do you see a difference? You got to look really close. Look at the threads on the screw, and you'll notice one set of threads is really fine and one set of threads is really coarse. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Which bag has the coarse threads?
This one.
Let me see.
Okay. I'm no expert.
You are correct. So, with these thin thread screws, the other bag, those are used for like mounting an optical drive, sometimes mounting a solid state drive. But we don't have those kind of drives on this build, so we won't be using any of these screws. So all of these screws they sent, because they don't know what you're going to build, we're going to put back in the empty motherboard box for the customer if they later want to upgrade.
All right.
In that bag, go ahead and remove 3 of those because we have 3 holes. So we're going to use how many screws?
3.
That's right. Not 2 and not 4. And you can start anywhere you want. Pick a corner. And just don't tighten it all the way down. And you can shift the motherboard. Remember, that's why we're not going to tighten it down. If the screw's not lining up properly, it's not going to go in. You can try a different corner if you want. If you get frustrated with one particular corner, you should be able, now you're doing it right, you should be able to see through the hole in the motherboard through the standoff behind it. Don't just keep turning the screwdriver and turning it. Remember, righties, tighties, lefties, loosies. You want to go the same direction as a clock.
Wait, trying to remember a clock. All right.
Got it. Got 2 more to go. What you want to be careful of, and the reason why I recommend the magnetic screwdriver, is the motherboard, the components on the board and all the little traces on it are delicate, so you don't want to scratch the board or drag the screw across that motherboard. Okay, now go ahead and tighten those down. And they don't have to be super tight, you just want to feel the screw stop and just turn it just a little tiny bit more after it stops. See, so that screw never went in.
Huh.
And now that you've tightened the other 2, you can't move the board around to make it line up, so hopefully. Did you get it?
Yep.
Great, good job. Now go ahead and put the case back up on its feet. That's the head. I want it on its feet.
Oh, those tricked
See
me.
the rubber feet?
I thought these were rubber feet up here.
Nope. Okay. Now, here on the back of the board, you can see that socket for the
Yeah.
M.2 drive. This is our M.2 drive. And you know how there's a thumb drive?
Yeah.
I call this a gum drive.
All right.
And the reason I call it a gum drive, I'm hoping the name will catch on, is because it's the same size and shape as a stick of gum. That's how small it is. You ever seen one before? Okay, so there's our socket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's the screw that's going to hold it in place. It's already installed in the motherboard. We have to remove that screw before we begin.
All right.
And this screwdriver, the tip on it's a little too wide. Doesn't really get in there. So we need a finer tipped Phillips screwdriver.
All right.
So I've got one right here, and this one's also magnetized. And what I want you to do is remove that screw. Now, this is another reason why it's important to use a magnetized screwdriver. You can imagine if you take this screw out and it falls,
Yeah.
you may have a hard time getting it, especially if it falls into your power supply, if your fan is facing up on the power supply. Or if you're working somewhere where there's carpet, you could lose it in the carpet. It's a very tiny little screw. And there is a place online where, there are several places online where you can order them, but it does require a little bit of research to find them. And so what I'll do is I'll put a link in this video for anybody who does lose one, where you can go and buy them, because they're exceptionally difficult to find if you don't know what it's called or you don't know the measurements of the screw. So what I want you to do first is take that screw out. Okay, now we're ready to install the solid state drive, which is even easier than installing a hard drive because you don't have the power cable and data cable, right? All you gotta do is plug this into the socket. As I mentioned, with the little grooves cut out in it, it only goes in one way.
All right.
So we're gonna install it with the sticker. You see there's two sides to this, right? There's the sticker side, and there's the back side.
Yeah.
So the back side is gonna go towards the back of the motherboard. Not all motherboards are the same. It will only fit in one direction. Okay, we are almost done, believe it or not. All we have to do is hook up the cabling now. This is the part that scares a lot of people. I always tell people you just take it one cable at a time.
All right.
So we're gonna start by taking this wire tie off of this bunch of cables on our power supply.
All right.
I don't care how you get that cable, that little wire tie off. Cut it, untwist it, I don't care. I just get rid of it. I don't want to see it. Good. Good boy. All right. Good man. Take the cables, straighten them out. Just pull them out. Let me show you how I do it. There's one. There's another one. There's another one. See how I'm untangling it?
Yeah.
Now, you see this big one? It's different than all the others?
Yeah.
That's where we're going to start. This supplies our motherboard with power. This is a 20 plus 4 connector because if you count them, there's 20, and this is 4 extras.
Right.
They're not extra. On some motherboards, older motherboards, they only use a connector this size, and on most modern motherboards, they're going to use this other little 4-pin that's going to connect. You just kind of have to, you see the little plastic tabs that stick out?
Yeah.
And you kind of have to hold it together with your hands like that.
All right.
You see there's a clip on this side?
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you think this is going to go? There's only one place on the motherboard this can possibly go.
Up here.
I want you to look at the size of the connector.
It's about right. Right.
Look at how big
Oh,
this is.
right here.
Okay. Now you see how there's a clip here, right?
Yeah.
And you can feel there's a little ledge right there.
Yeah.
So that means you've got to rotate this so that this clip is going to click underneath that little ledge and hold. It's going to hold this connector in.
All right.
Now this does require a little bit of force. Usually, you see how I put my hands,
Yeah.
and usually what I do is I just get it started, and I'm trying to avoid touching the RAM here so that it lines up with all the holes.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see it from where you're standing, how this is lined up?
Yeah.
And then I just push it and wiggle it until I hear that clip click into place.
All right.
So I want you to do it.
All right.
So one way you can tell if it's in is sometimes you can just look and see if the clip looks like it's flat or if it's on an angle. And the best way you can tell if you've got it hooked on correctly is to grab the cable and just give it a light tug and a little, wiggle it and pull it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not coming off. You did it good. Now here's the one thing a lot of people miss, especially with cheaper cases. More modern cases have something called cable management built into them.
All right.
So we used to build computers just like this. And it's fine, it doesn't hurt anything, but it doesn't look all that attractive.
Yeah.
Now this case doesn't have a window, but I still take a lot of pride in how I build. And it does make the computer a lot easier to work on in the future, to diagnose it or to upgrade it if the cabling is cleaner. So to do that, I'm going to actually take off what you've done. And I'm going to run it through this hole right back here. Now we don't want to run it in this hole because this is not a cable management hole.
Right.
This is a hole for the back of the motherboard. But these holes over here are for cable management. It doesn't matter which one you use, you just have to eyeball which one you think is going to look best. And now when I connect that back again, where you just had it, which is the only place it'll go, it's a little bit tougher to get on because you don't have as, the cable's pulled a little bit tight. But doesn't that look better?
Yeah.
Okay. Now the 4-pin CPU power is way up here in the corner. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Now all motherboards use this cable, and all modern motherboards are going to use what's either that 4-pin or sometimes it's an 8-pin. It's like 2 4s pushed together.
All right.
And because the power supply maker doesn't know which motherboard you've got, they separate the 2 4 pins out like this.
Okay.
Now these look an awful lot like the same connector that goes onto a video card. But you notice these connectors say CPU on the side. What you want to pay attention to, once again, is where the clip is.
Yeah.
And where the little ridge is on the connector. So in this case, on this motherboard, that ridge also faces the outside edge.
Okay.
What I usually do is I grab a nylon zip tie and I'll fold one of these down and zip tie it out of the way. So we could just plug this straight in up there if we want to, but I want the cables to look good on the inside like I already talked about. So I'm going to run this through here just like I did the other one.
Yeah.
But instead of going to here, we want to come up here. In most good cases, we'll have a hole in the back and it's kind of hidden. So I'm going to come around the back here. And you tell me if you can see this coming through. You see it coming through the other side?
Yeah.
Will you grab it for me and pull it through? That's it. So once again, you can see how much cleaner that's going to look. Now it does make working on it a little bit tighter, like you say, because we're consuming a lot of the slack on the cable.
Yeah.
So like I said, either connector, clip facing the edge, and just go ahead and plug that straight on, and you will hear it click when it goes in. I heard it. Give it a light tug, it looks good. And then what I'll do, just to clean up the slack a little bit, you see how that cable's kind of coming out this way?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do this and take the slack out towards the back of the case, and we can clean that up later. So it almost doesn't even look like you've got any cables hooked up right now. But that's actually all the power you need to hook up. That's it. There's nothing else that requires power. All this is extra.
All right.
And there's really no place on this case for me to run these cables in the back because they're just really thick. So I'll probably just zip tie those down to the bottom. No one's ever going to see it, and it'll be nice and clean and out of the way. So that's all the power. Just those 2 connectors was all it took. Now we've got to hook up all of those. Does that look scary? Your eyebrows just went up. All right. The easiest one of these to hook up, we'll start with the easy ones first. You see this one's kind of weird looking?
Yeah.
This is the USB 3 connector. And what that's going to do is that's going to power Right up here, you see the two USB 3 ports?
Yep.
That's how those are going to work. If you don't plug that cable in, those aren't going to work. So what I want to do on the back is I want to just clean the cabling up so nothing's interwoven,
Yeah.
right? And we're just going to take this cable and put it right through this wiring hole.
All right.
Roll through. Turn this back around. Now here is where it's coming out, and right here, do you see this connector right here?
Yeah.
That is your USB 3 connector. It's the only one on the motherboard will this will plug into. You can't get it wrong. And if you look very closely, there's a little notch, and there's a little hole on one side, and that prevents you from plugging it in backwards. All you're gonna do is push it on, you should hear it click into place.
All right.
Not rocket science, is it? Pretty simple.
Yeah.
All right, now we're going to hook up the front port audio connector. So the front port audio connector is what's going to make these jacks work if you were to plug headphones in or a microphone in.
All right.
If you don't plug that connector in, these won't work. Now that connector is this other wire that has this rectangular connector on the end, and it says audio on one side, or this one actually says HD audio.
All right.
And if you look closely, do you see how one of these pins is blocked?
Yeah.
That's to ensure this only plugs in one way because it doesn't have any other key. So that's the only way they make sure that you know that you've plugged this in correctly.
All right.
We could just run this through the hole and it's just not going to look as good.
Yeah.
I try and find, sometimes like this power supply, if you look, there's a little gap here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to run it right down there, just like that. Then we'll turn this around. I should have brought the Lazy Susan back out, huh? Now, on almost all motherboards, this connector goes somewhere in this left quadrant, left lower quadrant down here in this corner.
All right.
And if you look on this motherboard, there are a lot of different places. I want you to look at how many pins are there here. There's 5 on the bottom and 5 on the top, with 1 missing.
It's 9.
So do you see any connectors in this lower left quadrant that look like that? Now, you should read your motherboard manual, which will specify which of those is your HD audio connector, but common sense, if you just look at it,
Right here.
you are correct. Good job. All right, so grab that cable and look at where the missing pin is and look where the plug is on the cable and turn that cable as you need to. Well, I'm looking at what you just did,
Yeah.
and it's not fully seated. I need you to use a little more muscle, especially the part towards the back of the case. It's not fully flush. Just kind of wiggle and push. Oh, I saw it move. All right, let's see how you did. Perfect. Finally, 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 we have these individual wires that are left. And again, scares a lot of people. And if we look closely on them, each one is labeled, right? So what's this one say?
Reset SW.
What do you think
Software.
that means?
Software?
Switch,
Switch. Oh.
right? Software is programs, and hardware is all the stuff we can
Yeah.
hold in our hands. So nothing you can hold in your hand that's a cable or an internal component will say software, right? You can't hold software in your hands. You can hold the hardware, the media that holds the software. So what's this one say?
Hard disk drive LED.
Well, that's what it stands for. What does it say?
HDD LED.
Correct? That's going to control the light that blinks on and off anytime your hard drive is reading or writing. This one?
Power LED plus, power LED minus.
Right, positive and negative.
Yeah.
And finally, what's this one say?
power switch.
So normally on a regular ATX build or a micro ATX build, I would bring these cables in down through this wiring hole down here because the connector that we use was usually in this lower right corner. But on a mini ITX motherboard, it's actually moved up by this big power connector. And if you look really closely, you can see it right there with all the different colors on it. So we're going to start with the power LED. And you'll notice one side is positive and one side is negative. So that power LED is going to go right on these first 2 pins, closest to the RAM, in a vertical position with the positive cable facing down. I'm going to actually remove this USB 3 cable because it's in our way. We'll put it back on when we're done.
So right here with the green?
On the green. Now, not all motherboards follow the same color scheme. So this is for specifically the Gigabyte board here. You want that positive cable going on the very bottom pin and the negative cable going on the pin directly above it, closest to the edge of the, closest to the RAM. Now, directly across on the other side is your hard drive LED. And in the same way, we'll find the cable that says, go in here and find me the one that says HDD LED. Okay. How do you know which end of that is positive?
I don't.
If you look very carefully here on the connector, do you see that little arrow?
Yeah.
That is your positive cable.
All right.
So what direction is that going to go on?
The bottom? Is that...
Positive goes to the bottom.
Yeah.
And I apologize to the viewers here that it's really, really difficult to get close-ups in the case. It's very, very dark. Next, grab the power switch cable. Now remember, that has no positive or negative. Before you hook it up, look at how these are kind of woven.
Yeah.
So let's just correct that right now. That is going to go directly above the power LED that you plugged in. All right, we got one left. Where do you think that goes?
Next to the switch. Right, no, wait.
Yeah, it's going to go directly across from the power switch and just above the hard drive LED.
All right.
Again, no positive or negative, so as long as you get it on the right 2 pins, it doesn't matter if it's upside down. There is no upside down with a switch. Take this excess cable, I'm just going to pull it out through here. You see how this USB cable got in our way? So
yeah.
Now I can sort of mess with it a little bit. I'm going to plug that USB cable back on, since I'm the one who took it off. There we go. And so when we pull all this back, you see how clean that's going to look later on when I do the cable management. So there's just one last thing. We don't have to hook it up. As I mentioned, we're not going to hook up the front fan. There's no point in it. Unless we have a big video card here, all this is going to do is bring in dust. So remember, I kind of pulled this out of the way because it was interfering with the motherboard installation?
Yeah.
So now there's a wire tie on here. I need you to take that wire tie off. Now, this fan has what we call a 3-pin fan header. And you'll see it's got little grooves on it.
Yeah.
The reason it's got the grooves is sometimes fan headers on motherboards will have 3 pins or 4 pins. And this will plug and work on a 3 or 4 pin header just fine. But to ensure you get it on the right 3 pins, there's going to be a little notch on it that's going to fit in those grooves. And that way it only goes on one direction. Different motherboards have a different number of fan headers. Some may only have 1, some may have up to 6 located in different parts of the board. This is a mini ITX, which means, once again, they've crammed everything on a board that's normally this big onto a board this big, and only giving us 1 extra fan header. But these systems don't really run hot, and 1 is all you're going to need, and it's located right up here by where we plugged in the CPU fan. So you notice that white connector says CPU fan right on the circuit board, and then right next to it there's a black connector, and this is a black plug. Those two are going to go together. They only fit on one way. As far as any cable management goes, it kind of stinks that the cable comes out of this side. We could take the fan and rotate it around, but I'm not going to worry about that for right now. In the cable management that I'll do later, I'll grab a nylon zip tie and I'll just take the excess and tie it up. What we don't want to have happen is we don't want this fan to in any way be able to interfere with the rotation of this. this wire to interfere with this fan.
All right.
Because it won't, the end user will never know what's happening. The BIOS may come up and say your CPU fan has failed, and hopefully that will happen if they've enabled that option in the BIOS. But otherwise, the fan isn't going to turn, and it won't cause a fire, nothing's going to break, but your system's going to run hot, and when it runs hot, it starts to slow down. And the end user may or may not notice that. So anyway, we want to do it right. So I want you to plug that in there. All right, kid, come here.
All right.
On the back of the computer, we already ensured earlier that the power supply is in the off position.
Yeah.
The first thing I want to plug in is my wireless keyboard and mouse.
All right.
And if the back of your motherboard, you see how we have some black USB ports and some blue ones?
Yeah.
Do you know the difference?
USB 2, USB 3?
That's right. The blue ones are USB 3. Now, Windows 7 may not recognize USB 3 for your keyboard and your mouse if you're installing Windows 7.
All right.
On this system, we're installing Windows 10.
Okay.
So it won't be an issue, but it's a good habit to get into plugging your keyboard and mouse into USB 2. The other reason is, if you plug a USB 2 device into a USB 3 port, everything connected to that USB 3 connector, because they're in pairs, will run at USB 2 speed. So let's say you've got a flash drive, that's really high-speed flash drive, and you plug it next to your wireless keyboard and mouse, and you go, why is my flash drive reading and writing so slow? Because this is slowing it down. And having your keyboard or mouse plugged into USB 3 won't make your keyboard or your mouse any faster. All right, so we're going to plug that right up here. It doesn't matter which one, just a black USB port. I like to plug it in towards the top of the motherboard. Usually, like, this motherboard has a keyboard and mouse, keyboard or mouse ports, which we're not using, right up at the top.
All right.
Next thing, we plug in our DVI cable.
Okay.
What's that look for?
DVI.
Okay. So I'm going to plug the DVI cable on there that you love so much. We're not gaming with this.
Oh.
I mean, we could. If we slap a video card in there, we could game. All right, this is the last thing we plug in, our power connector. And when we plug this in, the reason we're doing this is for safety. Nothing's going to blow up if we do it in a different order. It's good to create safe habits. So if you always do it the same way every time, you reduce the odds of making a mistake. Now go ahead and flip the switch on the power supply on. Good. And up here on the front of the case, first let me make sure the monitor is turned on. Yep, the monitor is on. Okay, step in a little bit. They can't see it. All right. Hit the button. We want to see the lights come on. I want to see the fans spin. Are both fans spinning? The
Yeah.
rear case fan?
Yeah.
CPU fan?
Yeah.
Power lights on? All right, now we need to wait for up to a minute to see if anything happens on the screen. We want to see some acknowledgement that the system is trying to boot. Because we don't have an operating system installed yet, there's nothing for it to boot to, and we should get an error like no bootable device, or it may just go into the BIOS. I don't know what it's going to do. Reboot and select proper boot device. So that's exactly what we wanted to see. Now, this customer wants Windows 10, but he doesn't have a DVD drive, so how are we going to install Windows 10?
No idea.
Well,
Through a thumb drive?
we can do it through a thumb drive. When this customer ordered this computer, he ordered Windows 10 on DVD. So I want to install it from DVD. How am I going to do that?
I don't know.
I'll show you. I bought this a long time ago. This is a USB DVD reader writer. See, it's external. And they only sell for maybe $10 more. Like, these are like 20 bucks, the ones that go inside. These are maybe 30 bucks. And you even have them in Blu-ray if you really wanted to do that. And it's USB 2. And we could just plug this cable in here. Now, this customer didn't buy one of these, but if the customer wants to buy one, they can buy one at any point. And this one's from Asus. It's got a little latch. It opens up.
All right.
And that's how we're going to get Windows 10 installed. Now, I'm not going to do that on this video because we'll be here forever. I'm also going to update the BIOS, and I'm also going to clean up this cable management. But you, sir, have done a fantastic job following the instructions, and building a working computer that I'm proud to put my name behind and give to my customer as if I built it myself. Customer won't even know because you did a job as good as I would have done it. Now, just as a Jedi gets his own lightsaber, because you have done a good job,
Yeah.
and you are my nephew, I'm going to knight you
Yeah.
in a Jedi nerdy way by giving you your very own Kerry Holzman approved screwdriver that you can use for years and years and years.
Does it still work as a lightsaber?
No, but if somebody comes into your house that's attacking you, you could do that with it.
Okay.
Hey, there's people out there that are really jealous of you. You should seem like really excited about this. This is kind of a big deal. I know it's just a screwdriver, but you'd be surprised how hard it is to take screws in and out without one. Especially cheap junk.
All right.
All right, try and contain your enthusiasm. All right, that's going to finish this build. Like I said, you've seen me do the cable management before. You've seen me do the BIOS updates. If you haven't, just click on my name below the video and you'll see all my other previous videos. Thank you so much for your help.
You're welcome.
And next time, we're going to build something bigger and much more complicated if you're up for it.
All right.
All right. You guys let me know if you want to see that. If you enjoy the video, please click the like button. If you want to know when new videos come out, hit the subscribe button. Next to the subscribe button, there's a little bell. If you click that little bell, you tell it that you want to have emails sent to you when new videos are posted, so you'll be one of the first people to know as new content comes up here on my channel. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you next time.